That is Richard Knight out of Marlow, New Hampshire, in the Rosner Race Cars sponsored automobile. And the number 28, that's James Brown of Barrington in the Landry's Auto Salvage Lee Circle Grocery sponsored car. The 01, Wayne Helliwell Jr. out of Draken, Mass. AJ's Snowmobile, the sponsor there. And the number 44, Billy Clark of Haverhill in the REV Racing New Hampshire Machine Products Route 125 Mobile sponsored 44. Then the number 23, that's John Melky out of Stratham in the Standard Plumbing and Heating car. The number 1, Mike LaRochelle out of Hudson, New Hampshire in the C&D Auto Glass car. The 21 is Corey Boudreau out of West Warwick, Rhode Island. The Big Panther, Corey Boudreau. And that is the starting lineup for this heat as they are underway. The first qualifying heat for the late model. Big lead for Scott Sargent right on lap number 1 in the 66. Chris Sullivan runs second. Carl Fredrickson runs in the third spot. In the number 41, that's Mike Johnson in the 11th. Richard Knight in the 31. Sargent now with a commanding lead after just 2 laps in the number 66. These guys all going for good qualifying spots for the S&J Transportation Late Model 100 later in the program. Sargent out by himself, Chris Sullivan in a comfortable second, and the battles from third on back. Here's Mike Johnson in the 11 down underneath Carl Fredrickson. And Johnson goes to third. Fredrickson is fourth. Richard Knight right there in the 31. James Brown in the 28. Wayne Helliwell Jr. in the 01. It's tight from second on back as they come to the cross flags this time and halfway through. Heat number 1 for the late model. Mike Johnson now goes to work on Chris Sullivan. Sullivan in the number 3, the Olds Cutlass, and Mike Johnson in the Chevy Beretta, number 11, dicing out for second. As Johnson looks to the low side, finds some room, slides up just a little bit high, but takes over that second spot. Now Carl Fredrickson follows through. Fredrickson down underneath Sullivan, trying to go to third, and does. Sullivan stuck in that outside groove, allowing James Brown to get down underneath. James Brown goes to the 4th spot, and Wayne Helliwell follows through. A tough break for Chris Sullivan, as they say, hung out to dry up there on the outside as they get 2 laps to go, 2 to go. White flag this time for Scott Sargent, who could just about coast around on the last lap. Mike Johnson second, Carl Fredrickson loose out of turn 4, gathers it back up, trying to hold on to that third spot. He's got a couple of the hot shoes right behind him, James Brown and Wayne Helliwell. As Scott Sargent comes to the checkered flag, he wins it. Mike Johnson will finish second, Carl Fredrickson holds on for third, Wayne Helliwell Jr. finishes 4th, followed by James Brown in the 28, Billy Clark in the 44, and Mike LaRochelle in the number 1. That's the way they run in heat number 1 for the Lee USA Speedway late models.